powered by Riverside FM.
Okay. Good evening, sir. You're welcome.
Good evening,
Can you-
ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. There are lots of feedback noises, but we can hear you.
Increase it. All right. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so
Good evening.
just want to be sure that we have you for us to make in the community.
Okay.
Uh, is the audio preferable? Is it
My
okay?
audio.
Yes. Can you hear me very well?
I'm straining my ears to hear you, but I'm trying. I'm not
Okay.
with my headphones because I didn't plan to use my laptop. So I'm just trying to manage what we can make do with, at least for tonight. Our next session would be much more better and organized.
So just give us a few minutes then come
So,
to that we are live.
you can speak already. I think highest. Hmm? Okay.
So in case you want to share to, not in case you want, let me just drop this Zoom link. Trying to drop the YouTube link. Can you, do you have access to your WhatsApp?
Myself? Yeah,
Yes, okay.
I do. This one is better.
Okay. So we are going live now. All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're excited to have everyone here tonight. Despite the technical challenges that we're having, we're here, we're here, we're here. And I'm so glad that we could be here tonight because the team has worked very, very hard to get to this point where we are birthing the Wamidio YouTube live session. And we're not just jumping on the wagon of podcast everywhere, or there are just different discussions. We saw a need and we thought that we should, provide solutions, a platform where people can actually assess and, get this intimate solutions, to their problems. Out there we have so many resources. Everybody's talking. There are noise everywhere, right? Everybody has their own point of view. But who is really, really listening to you? Who is really, really listening in? Right. And that is why we thought to give this platform to young professionals. And we're excited that we are going and we are doing this today. And so let us just give all our community members, which we call family, a few minutes to join in. We know some people might be battling with network issues. Some people might be still trying to find their feet. And mothers like me, they might be trying to like put their children at ease, or just settle them in to join. So let's give um, a couple of people some more time so that we can have a good number to start off with. But in the meantime, I will run us through why we are here. What is the purpose of us being here tonight? It is very, very imperative that uh, we 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 are not wasting our time, right? And like I said, there are lots of information out there, but does it really work? There are, in my words, there are two kinds of knowledge. And in this world, the kind that they put in textbooks and you can access, right? And the very kind that you get to have access, it gets passed down by people when they decide that you are worth that knowledge, you are worth that information. And this is the kind of information and knowledge that we will be sharing here today. Everything you are going to be hearing here tonight belongs to the second category, which is we believe in you. And every Saturday, this room feels hot, right? With people that are not just watching, or they want to binge watch, or they want to take the time away, but they are thinking, they are questioning, and they are trying to figure out things in real time, in real time. And people who have the hunger, and not just hunger, but haven't been able to get the map of how to pilot professional journeys. And this is why Wamido actually exists in the first instance. Wamido is a mentorship ecosystem that is built mainly for you to close the gap between knowing what to do and actually getting ahead in your career trajectory. Because the truth of the matter is that skills alone are not enough, and we all know that. And that's why we have so many gaps right out there in our professional career. And we want to provide a platform where we can network, have this self-knowledge, right? And so we don't just motivate people. This is not, if you're looking for motivational talk, this is not where you're going to get it. We are positioning you if you want in, right? It's a very simple way. It's a simple platform to you just join the community. You go through the onboarding program, the very short onboarding program, and you step into an ecosystem where we hear you, we train you, and it is designed to move you forward. And so, before we go any further tonight, right? Here is the real question for you tonight, and I want you to take a pause and listen, right? Before you can actually find the right mentor, before you can actually find money and build the right network, or even make the right move in life. How well how well do you actually know yourself? How well do you actually know yourself? And what does it cost you to if you don't know? What does it cost you if you don't? And so tonight we will be labeling this episode the foundation nobody built. The foundation nobody built. Why knowing yourself is the most underrated career move anybody has ever taught you and you will ever make, right? And so we are taglining this before before the mentor, before the networking, before the mentorship, before the opportunity comes. There is you, there is you knowing yourself. And so tonight is not a career talk. We're not just jumping into career. This is what to do, build your skills and everything. We want to talk about how well you know yourself. And so this conversation is going to be mirroring yourself. And not everybody usually like what they see in the mirror. And I can tell you about that. I checked myself and I said, oh, these cheeks are becoming bigger, right? And so sometimes we want to mirror ourselves to see where we are now and apply some very drastic changes in some instance, gradual changes in some instance, and most importantly, just taking that step that is needed, right, towards that aim and objective that you want to see, the output of your life you want to see. And this time, talking about our careers and our profession. And so, without further ado, the most important people you will have, the most important question people will ever say about their biology or psychology before I introduce our guest, is about affecting their professional life. And so here's something that almost nobody ever tells a young professional. There's something that nobody ever mentions, and it is the reason why we are who we are. It is why we are starting exactly here tonight. And in 2023, let me quickly do a deep dive into an organization psychologist called Tasha Urich published a research that speaks on the reviewed that speaks on something about the startling 95% of people that actually believe that they know themselves. They believe that they are self-aware. And after the research, when you're conducting research, you ask questions, you engage with people. And when they ask people, do you really know yourself? We have about 95% of people saying, yes, I do know myself. But after going through the research process and everything, it was revealed that just about 10 to 15 people actually know themselves. The actual number of people who genuinely know themselves, know who they are, is staggeringly 10 to 15%. Isn't that amazing? And really, I want that to land for a moment here. 95% of people think they know themselves, but just 10 to 15 people actually do know themselves, right? I understand the aspect of we evolving, right, as we grow. But the constant evolvement as we grow too necessitates the need that we should stay alert in constantly updating that file of we knowing ourselves, right? Of we knowing ourselves. And here is why that statistics matters to your career. And tonight we are going to be talking about that. Also, there is research from Harvard Business School that has consistently shown that our self-awareness is the strongest predictor of leadership. It's the strongest predictor of leadership. How we can position is stronger than your IQ, is stronger than your emotional intelligence quotient, is stronger than your what's this other thing called? Than your technical skills, which everybody has centered on in the last decade. You can train your skills, you cannot cut short your self-knowledge. You cannot also sort yourself like but it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than the professional performances that we are all, spotlighting. And this is the part where nobody in a career seminar, nobody in our um, skill workshop tells us or speaks out loud to us that your biology is shaping your professional life, is shaping your professional choices, is shaping your professional behavior right now, whether you are aware of it or not, right? And so, all these studies in behavioral neuroscience have shown that um, an instance, testosterone, which is a dominant hormone in men, but is also found in human, uh, is significantly a contributor to how our behavioral choices, how it influences our risk tolerance, how it influences the competitive drive, the aracharial thinking, and every other decisions that we make. And this is not a gender argument, right? It is a biological reality. Men with women, men have higher let's say baseline of testosterone, like I mentioned earlier, and they have been seeing that this helps them to take great financial risk, right? They also have been shown to see that they pursue starters, they have linked opportunities more, they are more aggressive in grabbing opportunities and responding more to intently and to opportunities. And on the other side, women, they have hormonal, architectural difference with that of men, and they have been shown to um, demonstrate very, very strong relationship of care. You know, Feminine, they have sorry, I lost my train of thought there. They've been shown to demonstrate emotional attachment. They've been shown to also have this strong um, coordination in their career spaces. And so, what I'm just saying to emphasize, what I'm just trying to emphasize is that we are made up of other influences that we need to be aware of um, before we start accumulating all these other outer influences. And that is what we are here to discuss tonight. And so it's with all joy and with all excitement that I'm bringing up our amazing guest tonight that we will start off this conversation with, and in the next 3 Saturdays. And we believe so much that, starting on with this very strong foundation of knowing ourselves and then progressing to other intimate and very deep conversations to help us shape whether or not we even need mentorship, right? You have to know who you are before you start deciding if you need to be mentored or not. All right. And so we have Barrister Ayoluwa Oyelere here with us tonight. He is a barrister at law and he's also a pastor. And this two intersection is the sweetest form of mix, of knowledge mix that I have ever encountered. He has a depth of knowledge that is very and we've had a couple of conversations that has spurred this moment. And really, I can't wait for you guys to dive into this conversation. And before he picks up the mic, I would want to tell us that please, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat and we will be taking your questions shortly because this is part of why we are here. We want to be able to answer real life questions pertaining to you. All right, so over to you, my very own brother, Pastor Oyelere. And but starting off tonight, I have one very simple question to start off with. I know that we've talked about this and we've been able to decipher some major challenges, with career positioning nowadays, right? And so I am thinking the thing most people will never say about how their biology or psychology is affecting their professional life, what it is. And there are two kinds of knowledge, like we said earlier in when I was introducing. And there is something that nobody tells a young professional. And these are all challenges that have maturated aside from our governmental challenges, especially in Nigeria, and form a kind of restriction to who we have become as professionals in Nigeria. Now, you have spent years in these two disciplines. You are a pastor, and you are also a barrister at law. And in these very different ways, we ask the same questions. are you really from where you sit today? How well do most people actually know themselves? And what does that cost them professionally? I think this is a very first way to start off tonight. I'll take that again. Like from where you sit today, Sam, how well do most people actually know themselves? And what does that cost them professionally?
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here this evening. And then I think we're going to have a very beautiful and amazing time in the course of these 4 weeks that we'll be having conversations together. I would also request that, because I have a tendency to talk, to over talk. So just send me reminders that, okay, because when I'm answering questions, I want to be timed so that I don't go on a full leak of my own.
I got you, sir. Don't worry. Please go
Oh,
deep as much as you want to go deep. That's why we're here to learn and
okay.
unlearn. Yeah.
All right. So for starters, you asked me a question that in the course of in my experience, both as a lawyer and then as a pastor, how well do I think people know themselves? And I will tell you categorically, I will tell you without mincing words that I think a lot of people are not even aware. They do not know themselves. A lot of people do not know themselves. Uh, First, because people were not trained to even discover who they are. A lot of people are going through life and they have one problem. It is called identity crisis. And that is why they can't seem to even say, this is the path I want to follow. The path that most people are following, they are the path of maybe so some people will follow the path of the least resistance. When you truly know yourself, you don't follow the path of least resistance, you follow your path. So either you are facing little resistance or no resistance, you continue to follow your path. So a lot of people are following paths that they know nothing about, but they are following the path because they believe that that's what is right to follow. For instance, when we're growing up, a lot of people ended up studying courses that they had no business studying. Why? Because they didn't know themselves. And this is not a problem that started yesterday, it's a generational problem. When you were raised by, I'm sorry to say, I'm talking to every one of us, when you were raised by parents who didn't know themselves, who were raised by parents who didn't know themselves, who were raised by parents who didn't know themselves, you also are raised not to know yourself. And if you don't do something drastic, you're also going to raise another generation that will not know themselves. And then that is why a lot of people end up frustrated, very frustrated. When we were in secondary school, you either went, we schooled in Nigeria, you were either in science class or art class or commercial class. And all of us, we know that when they talk about art class, the people in art class, they were the quote and unquote, that was all we were made to believe. They were the rejects of the school system.
Very true.
The people that were in sciences, they were the top,
Smartest.
the
Yeah.
best brains. But over time, we discovered that the people that were in sciences, they were not the best brains. At the end of the day, somebody, I don't want to talk too much, but there were people that they were better off. They would be better off studying education. As a matter of fact, some people studied medicine, and when they were done studying medicine, they discovered that they were actually meant to study education.
Mhm.
And so they are trying to pilot their way back into education. It's been difficult. Some people have missed their path for life, and some people are lucky. Very few people are lucky to retrace their steps. So people don't know themselves, and then, like in the brief you sent to me, when you are not aware, when you don't have self-awareness, and you have made a mistake in defining your path, that mistake is going to bleed into so many other areas of your life. Now, a lot of people also, let's even talk about marriage. A lot of people are in bad marriages today. A lot of people are in divorce courts today. Why? Because they didn't have self-awareness. If you, in my practice as a lawyer, I've had to also practice as a divorce attorney. And then I've been able to, hear people say a lot of things about relationships and marriages, and you will discover that so many people are into, they went into marriages without defining who they are. And if you haven't defined who you are, how dare you go and join another person on a voyage that is supposed to be forever? So people don't actually know themselves. Number one, because they were not told. They were not told. People's identities sometimes were forced on them. Because, some people say they are extroverts or they are introverts. They were never introverts. Those were forced identities. Forced identities that were given by maybe years of abuse or careless people that, they fell into the wrong hands. People who are supposed to be caregivers were not given the right care, were not giving the right care to those people. And again, another reason why people do not know themselves is because, when you look, I think it was Michael Jackson that did this song. If you want to do something, look at the man in the mirror. Eventually, when people have knowledge and then they know what it takes to actually know themselves, they cannot confront themselves. So they live in denial. Because when we talk about knowing yourself, we talk about confronting yourself, what's and all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are many people that the only thing they want to know about themselves are the good things about themselves. And then if that's your disposition, you are not ready for change, you're not ready for growth. Because you are supposed to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be able to point out the things that are good and the things that are not good. So a lot of people don't know themselves, and that's why we have a lot of chaos in the society today. We have chaos in churches, we have chaos in business, we have chaos in the corporate world, we have chaos in politics, because people have not examined themselves. I think it was Socrates that said that an unexamined life is not worth living. Why do we examine? We don't examine because we want to give pass marks or say somebody has failed. We examine so that we can make improvements. So one of the things I believe we're going to be doing in the course of these sessions is that we examine ourselves through the things we'll be discussing. I used to tell people, I've interacted with people professionally, religiously, etc. And it bothers me to know that people at my age now, I'm in my 30s, some people in their 40s, still have what we call low self-esteem. There are people that still have low self-esteem in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Now just imagine, they say there's a saying that broken people break people. An adult with a low self-esteem is a broken adult. When he's raising children, he's going to probably break those children because he himself is not whole, he's not healed. Some people are still suffering from peer pressure. We didn't know that, we all had our whatever face off with peer pressure when we were growing up. But then I assumed, because I knew when I was battling with esteem issues as a kid, as a teenager, I knew when I was being pressured by my peers, and I did my best to actually overcome those tendencies and those challenges and proclivities. So I thought everybody was like me. And one thing I discovered eventually was that a lot of people didn't get delivered from peer pressure. And then they are adults. Some of them are heading organizations with poor self-esteem, with peer pressure. Nothing reveals your self-esteem, your sense of esteem, and determines whether you are free or not from peer pressure better than the social media. With the advent of the social media, you discover that a lot of adults are very sick. And the reason why they are sick was because they did not become aware. When you are self-aware, you discover that these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, and you work on your weaknesses and you take advantage of your strengths. So I can tell you categorically that a lot of people are not self-aware. A lot of people, actually.
You have said a lot of, and in fact, if I'm to quote every of our sentences, there will be a reiteration to that. And that is why I am so excited and so glad that you accepted, the invitation to, work on this journey with us to prepare our community in starting off our mentorship program in the there are some conversations that need to be had had rather with not people that consider themselves to be adults. Now you said something very important, and I'll reiterate. You said that, you know, people have forced identity. People have forced identity. And the
Yes.
worst part of it is that they don't even know that they forced the identity on them. So they are
Yes.
proudly wearing a garment that is not theirs. And over the years, they have learned to wear it gallantly, even though it's not theirs. And so now my question is, we have so many things that influences identity. If we say that you are in Nigeria, you have certain societies that pronounce you as a Nigerian. And please correct me if I am moving in the way I'm thinking about it, if it's wrong, right? So if you say you are identifying as a Nigerian, and you are maybe your culture, where you come from. I mean, you say you are Yoruba or you are Igbo. There are certain ways Igbos and other tribes of Nigeria they actually behave. I just said that to say that there are certain external factors, right, that imposes some identity on us. How do we deal with us not losing our identities? Because we're still going to go to the questions of how do we find our identity, how do we discover our identity and all that. But before we move to that, you know in this current situation where we have all these external factors forcing this identity on us, how do we not lose ourselves in all this?
Okay. You're talking about, I mean, forced identities. Like, okay, when identities has been forced on people, how then do we not lose our individualities? You know, in fact, before I will talk about how not to lose ourselves, I would even, of course, I know you're still going to get there, how to even find ourselves in the first place. Because it is what you have that you don't get to lose. A lot of people have not even found themselves. And I love the fact that you touched on, that's why you see life is actually a business of knowledge.
Yeah.
Life is a business of knowledge. There are many things you will not be taught in school. You know, in this part of the world that I mean, from Nigeria, we don't have the culture of homeschooling, all right? So we do 6-3-3-4, primary school 6 years, junior secondary school, senior secondary school, and the university. But I don't care, even if you have a PhD. When you are done with your PhD, if you don't want to be a fool with a PhD, you have to homeschool yourself. You have to informally school yourself. Because there are many things that you will not be taught. Especially, if you come from a third world country with an expired academic curriculum, with a curriculum that is like almost a century behind, and the only education you have is formal education, you are in trouble.
Obviously,
You are toast.
obviously.
Because even the people that are from the first world countries and then they have up to date curriculum for their educational growth, they still self educate. So I want to sound it as, I mean, I can't say it enough. You have to self educate. Somebody said that a man would remain, in the next 5 years, 5 years from now, a man will remain exactly what he is now. In other words, by 2031, a man will remain the same thing. That's if it's not even worse in what he is in 2026, except for two things: the books he read and the people that he relates to. That's why we talk about mentorship. But even before you are able to relate with a mentor, there will be a basis for interaction.
Yes.
If there is no basis for interaction, no, because mentors are busy, all right? Mentors are very busy and they don't like time wasters, all right? So you have to. There is a kind of question you will ask that will elicit the right response from a mentor, and there is a kind of knowledge that you will have in order to pull out that virtue. So it is like scripture says, deep has to call unto deep. So your mentor is your mentor because he has gone ahead. But in order for you to be able to relate with your mentor, you have to be on that journey. You have to be on that path. So the whole essence of mentorship is that it's going to make your journey faster and quicker, but you must be on the path. And that path is the path of inquiry. That path is the path of knowledge. That path is the path of discovery. I like to say that all of us must be like Christopher Columbus, that, allegedly, or maybe not allegedly, discovered America, or it must be like Mungo Park, that they said he discovered wherever, but I don't believe. I think we were existing before Mungo Park came. But the point is that we have to be like explorers. You are like a continent. Man is a magnificent being. I mean, for people in sciences, they will tell you how many billions or millions of cells are in the human body. Now that's just the body. There is the soul of man, there is the spirit of man. So if you sit down with yourself, you are too complex even for a PhD dissertation. There is a lot to learn about yourself. When you dig into your genetics, you dig into your DNA, you look at your family history, you look at your society, where you came from, you look at your upbringing, there is a lot to learn. And the books that you read and the people that you interact with, they are the ones that will give you, provide you with the lights, provide you with the understanding with which you're going to know yourself. Now, to the question, how do we not lose our identities? That is provided you have an identity for starters. Let's assume now, because you're still going to talk about discovering yourself, but let's assume that we have discovered ourselves.
We assume it.
Now, there are factors that would want to force a definition on you. And if you are not strong, you have to be an iconoclast in the kind of generation where we live. You have to be somebody that can question cherished beliefs. Because that everybody says is right does not make it right. We live in the generation of bandwagon effect. You go on the social media, they tell you that this is how women behave, this is how men behave, and those things, they sound very nice. These, when we begin to talk about, concept, gender wars, talk about patriarchy, we talk about feminism, sexism, all those things. That somebody is talking eloquently does not mean that it is right. You have to be able to know yourself. Is this right or wrong before you build a life after it? Let me give an example. A popular, this is in the public domain, a popular denomination believed that it was bad at some points that it was bad, it was terrible, that the television was devil's box. So some people did not watch television. Some people that grew up in that generation refused to watch television. And then perhaps some of those people that refused to watch television, they were supposed to actually own media houses. But they thought television was devil's box. So they wouldn't touch television with the longest pole. All right? Decades after, television to that ministry is no longer devil's box. It's now Jesus' box. I respect the ministry. The best of men at their very best are men. I respect the ministry, I respect the minister, but I don't respect the people that follow the ministry and the minister without question. And now, 30 years after, 20 years after, they come on social media to say that, they deceived us. They didn't deceive you. Your ignorance deceived you. So, let's assume that you have an identity. Let me tell you, religion will try to force an identity on you. I'm not saying Christianity will try to force an identity on you. Religion, because you see, Christianity is not a religion. Originally, it's a relationship. But when you have not, if you refuse or you fail to discover the essence of Christianity for yourself, you will take the next available option, the easier option. People don't like to think. All right? People don't like to think. They don't like to stand out. Because when you think and when you stand out, you may be ostracized. All right? And people like to belong. So a lot of people actually trade their convictions on the altar of belonging. Now, another factor, let me give another, I've given religious example. You have to question religious beliefs. And then, I don't know if you are a Christian, every serious religion has a text, all right? Every serious religion has a book, has scriptures. How would you escape forced religious identity? It is by looking at the text yourself. If you are a Buddhist, you have to study the writings of Buddha, not just the sayings of the Buddhist monk. The Buddhist monk can misinterpret Buddha. But if you go to the book of Buddha yourself, then you can get the right perspective. Again, if you are a Christian, you have to go to the words of Christ. If you listen only to the words, to the interpretation of a pastor of the words of Christ, you can draw a wrong identity from that. Now, religion, when we were growing up, they would tell us what are the agents of socialization. If you remember your secondary school social studies,
Yes, we do.
mass media, all right, churches or religion, school, and all that. Now, those are avenues by which people not only socialized, by which they also formed identities and definition of their identities. I want to talk about culture very briefly. Culture. Because you mentioned culture. For instance, I'm from Oyo State. You are from Oyo State. There are things, if you are from Nigeria, there are things peculiar or allegedly peculiar to people from Oyo State. There are things allegedly peculiar to people from the southeast. There are things allegedly peculiar to the people from the southwest. Now, culture is good. Yeah, culture is part of what defines you, but not the wrong culture. As an individual, you should be able to also filter your culture. Take what is good and remove what is not good. Don't define yourself by the liabilities of your culture. Define yourself by the assets of your culture. And when you interact with other people too, don't automatically define them by the liabilities of their culture. Don't let your culture force an identity on you. Again, one last factor or one last instrument that is forcing identities on people now is the social media. The social media. I am a millennial. They said I'm a millennial because of when I was born, and some folks are millennials. But some people, they say they are Gen Zs. If you look at it very well, Gen Zs are being projected to be, people that, they are audacious, they are very active, they are digital natives. At least I think Gen Alpha will be more of digital native than Gen Zs, but then there are some abnormalities that have been associated with Gen Zs. Those things are abnormalities and they are almost becoming a badge of honor for most of them. You can be a Gen Z without acting out the excesses of a Gen Z. So always remember, culture is trying to shape your identity, and culture is very powerful. Culture is very powerful. You see, because culture is like you are inside it, and it will come inside you if care is not taken. When you talk about your culture in a plant, culture cultures you. The whole goal of culture is to culture you to begin to behave in a certain way. So there is culture, human culture, there is religion, there is the media. Back in the day, it used to be newspaper, the old media, newspaper, radio, and television. Now it is the social media, and you are being inundated, attacked from everywhere. Hope you know that it's doing a lot of good, at the same time a lot of damage. For instance, you see, as simple as it is, even the social media is affecting people's self-esteem. Did you know that some people can never post their real face again now because of Snapchat? They can never post their real face.
I tell you, sir.
They don't believe in their real face. They don't
Very
believe
true.
in their real face.
Very
Your
true.
real face has spots and wrinkles. A man or a woman with a solid self-esteem should be able to say, this is my face. Now, a lot of people cannot post their real face because Snapchat has given them an opportunity, a make-believe. And then all these factors will begin to weaken. So if you are not self-aware, it takes a self-aware guy or a lady or someone, a self-aware individual to say, okay, this is what I am, this is what I have. Instagram, they will tell you that Instagram, you see, if you want to, if you what you're looking for is toxicity, is on Twitter. If you're looking for something a little bit of intellectual and then fake news, is on Facebook. If you're looking for vanity, is on Instagram. All right.
What about LinkedIn? What about LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
What about LinkedIn?
That one is I don't know. I don't know. that's also make believe. I think LinkedIn is the home of professional make believe.
Yes, it is.
So, like, because somebody is working in a cafe and he tells you that he just got a job in tech. Bro, you're a cafe attendant. What do you mean by tech?
Yeah.
All right. Now look at it, as simple as it is. That's affecting the person's personality. Why can't you put it there? It is a cafe attendant. Because now you say, I was on LinkedIn some years ago. One guy said he was going to start. I mean, maybe that was one of the reasons why he even left LinkedIn. He wanted to start a company, and he would. He had a lot of graphics design, and then all that. And he said he was looking for a team. When they gathered the team together, we discovered that he didn't even have a startup capital. All right. So he was telling the team members that, okay, let's contribute. After you have contributed and we start this company and there is profit, we would give you money, something like that. You know, he had projected an image of a successful startup, but he didn't have the substance to back it up. What he has done, I mean, for decades, if I see the guy's name anywhere, or if I see maybe any advert, I'll know that this guy, he has formed an impression in my mind. And then it has affected my perception about him just because he wanted us to believe, make believe on LinkedIn. So if you have discovered your identity, assuming without conceding that you have discovered your identity, hold on to that identity very well. If you don't want to lose that identity, there are thieves of identity: culture, religion, social media. Be careful of those things. Be careful.
Thank you so much. I know that if we stay on this question, we can be here for a whole day because we can go keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. But I've been able to capture very two positive things that you'll be able to, talk about. And that is, don't just take it as it is being given to you. Go back and digest it. And I was speaking to one of my mentors, or he was speaking to us, and he said something that meditation is hard work. And how do you actually discover yourself? Is through the process of meditating. You get to think and think and think and crystallize all those small moments, those small chunks of interaction, of how you respond to things, and bring them together to crystallize a form of knowledge and eventually forming your own identity. And then, and I think one very important thing that we can mention at this point is that, in the journey of discovering yourself and having your own identity, your identity does not necessarily interpret to you being a good person or you being a bad person. Discovering your identity just means that you are on this neutral level of saying, this is who I am. How do I improve on me? Or how do I take back some things from me? And so it's a very, very important thing to note. Well, you mentioned something about, just not just ingesting whatever it is. And that is one thing I want us to stay on just for the next 5 minutes. Questioning. We've seen, and because this is a mentorship platform, we tend to interact with people that have higher hierarchy than us, not necessarily in age, but people that are maybe bosses, people that are higher achievers, people that have more experience than us. And how do we necessarily interact with them, without um because in the process of interaction, they give us some certain level of knowledge, they give us a certain level of experiences, they share this and that with us. But how do we digest this without not being, let me use the word, rude? Because, my dear brother, we have seen what one of the mentors that we will be privileged in opening the mentorship plan with posted some few weeks ago, and I really want to go there. He posted a few weeks ago on his status because I'm close to him, so I had the privilege of reading that. And he was talking about, him being on a set. Is a director, is one of the major movie producers in Nigeria, and he said he was on a set, and so he was standing up, of course, directing and doing all those stuff, and just a Gen Z, was also on the set with him. And he sat down close to the air conditioning. And maybe he had, so he had to, step out for a few minutes and get some, maybe get something. And so when he stepped out, he sat down just to relieve himself, of standing up. And when the guy came back, he narrated all the story on his status because he was so shocked. So when the guy came back, he stood beside him, and it was so jokingly he approached him and said, "Do you want me to stand up?" And funnily, the guy said, "Yes, sir, please stand up." He thought that I was joking. He thought that I was joking. But alas, our brother was not joking. He said he was so shocked that he did not even know what to say. He said, "Please go grab a chair. That there's a chair over there. Go grab a chair." And so when the guy grabbed the chair and came back, he was like, "Sir, I brought the chair. Like, you stand up from my seat. I'm actually enjoying that air conditioning, that space, that spot you're actually on." And so this just shows the level of, a decadence in constructing um knowledge that we might not necessarily approve of. I guess what I said all this to say that there's a certain level of rude shock, right, to our current Gen Zs, and how they disapprove of information, because it's something that is very true, that don't just take in what they bring to you, also go digest it. But if you feel that whatever it is that they brought to you is not right, how do you think, in this our quarter, how do you think we can necessarily manage this information and still not present ourselves as being rude, or not collaborative in the process of training and being mentored? I guess um, we are experiencing some technical issues. So we'll wait for him to come back live with us, and we would continue. But while we are waiting for that, I want to quickly answer some questions, because we've been getting some questions in our inbox asking us about how to join the Wamido community. Basically, Wamido exists to showcase and give us a platform where we can have real life questions answered, and most importantly, even shape the right questions. In my journey of life personally, I've been privileged to meet with mentors that have shaped my life. But most importantly, because I have being trained to ask the right questions that got the attention of the right people that I needed in my life. And so in this journey, I discovered that so many foundational challenges that we are dealing with in so many challenges rather that we are dealing in our career and professional progressions are foundational, that is not being taught in career workshops or skill workshops and the likes. And really, in this age of AI, so let me go there, in this age of AI, you need one more thing to stand out outside your skills, because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, AI is going to perfect that skills that you are claiming to have. It's going to perfect it. It's going to perfect it, and it will keep evolving. And so all those fundamental things that and issues that we need to address, all these things that we're just talking about Wamido. And so all these fundamental issues that you will need to, get in tune with, and that is why we Wamido, a platform for you to ask the right questions. And after asking the right questions, we're going to be preparing you for speak. If you want to engage with any mentor that is in our community, we are ready to mentor people that we are quite trained. Because it took a lot of time to get, Mr. Hayo mentioned something the other time. The mentors are busy, and that's why you really, like, the amount of people that are willing to mentor are very skilled, very small in relation to people that need that wants to be mentored. And why? Because we'll be able to identify all these challenges, and where Wamido has decided to bear all these risks and all these pain points for the mentors, just so that we can bridge that gap between mentors and mentees. And so, if you want to join our community, just go through our bio on this YouTube. You will see a link. Click on the link. You learn more information about us. You go through the 6 week course of the mentorship program, and then we link you with mentors in a circle that is related to your own profession. Currently, we have mentors in the media space. If you like filming, if you like being an actor and stuff like that, we have mentors in that space. We have mentors in the tech space, obviously, a lot of them. We have mentors in project management space, in the XPS space, and in the education space. So in those five spaces we're currently um, covering currently, okay, and also in the space. So we're covering the spaces, and as we grow and evolve, we would also have community much more mentors, and also our certified mentees will be connected with them. So back to our question, I'm not sure if you heard um, all of the questions I posed at you shortly before we had the technical issues. If you don't, I can quickly iterate. And just to summarize the question again, is that how do we manage the behavioral patterns of our generation when they want to stand in between when they want to engage between the the information given to them, right? The iteration process, and I also added the meditation process. And how do they divulge this mentor to say, oh, Sama, I think this information you gave to me, or this identity you're trying to impose, or whatever you find yourself, they are doing it politely and not in a rude way. Yeah, that's my question.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for the break in transmission. It was the network.
We
So yeah,
understand.
so talking about interacting with mentors, I will first say this, that the reason why we have to be careful how we interact with mentors is because don't forget, your mentor is somebody's protege.
Okay.
So your mentor is also being mentored,
Mm-hmm.
very likely. Your mentor is being mentored by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would also say that, see, never ever take for granted the place of mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said that why do if it seems as though we see Father, it is because we are standing on the shoulders of giants.
Mm-hmm.
So it is not because you are tall that you
Mm-hmm.
could see farther. It is because somebody has provided a shoulders for you to stand. Now just imagine that you guys are five in your class. You have five classmates or friends in your class, and then four out of five have found mentors, and you have refused to find a mentor in your career path in the same thing that you were doing. Those four people will be standing on the shoulders of other people that has years of experience, and they have wins under their belt, and you are just standing on your own. They will see further than you, not because they are more brilliant than you, but they were smart enough to leverage other people's experiences, including their pains. So somebody said to me when he was trying to encourage me many years ago about mentorship that you can't afford, you don't want to go through everything alone. There are paths that you wouldn't need to follow because somebody has gone there before and they can tell you that don't bother. For instance, nowadays I tell people when they want to make career choices, I ask them, oh, you want to become a lawyer or doctor? Oh, yeah, sit down. Why exactly do you want to become a doctor? Is it money you are looking for? Is money a be? I can give you 101 ways that will give you money faster than becoming a doctor. So if you want to be a doctor because you want to, it's for self-fulfillment. Oh, come on, you can go ahead and do it. But don't go and spend 7 years studying medicine because you want money, only to discover that you could make money faster by becoming a content creator or by becoming a YouTube influencer. Why don't you just start with YouTube influencing if that's what you're actually going for? And that takes us back to the issue of self-awareness and having the right guidance. Because somebody decided, some parents wanted their children to study medicine because they had a neighbor that was a doctor and he was rich. quote and unquote rich. So they felt that okay, my child should study medicine so that he can be rich like my neighbor. What they didn't know was that their neighbor had a real estate side business that he was doing. All the money wasn't coming from medicine. So they sent their own child to go and become medical doctor. He goes, they said, the kind of money they told me is in this thing is not here. So he's confused and they have squandered somebody's 7, 10 years, more than a decade. So that's just by the way. So when it comes to interacting with mentors, the reason why I said you have to be careful is because you are pursuing your mentor because you want to become like your mentor. But don't forget that your mentor is also still aspiring. There are people you want to become like. So your mentor is your teacher, but at the same time is someone else's students. That's the reason why sometimes it looks as though he's not giving you all the time. Some people say that we try to reach out to him. He's doing shakara for us. He's not doing shakara for you. The same way you want to grow, he too is trying to grow. The reason why you actually consider him worth following is because he is growing. The moment he stops growing, we know human beings, you will stop reckoning with him. So that's the first thing. Now, when it comes to interacting with mentors, and that's the reason why I'm always, these generational divides and gaps, it's a lot and we need to understand it. Now, every generation has their nuisance contents. It's just that Gen Z, their own nuisance is in public. Like, they came on board at a time where nothing is hidden again. They have phones in their hands, so they can tweet. Actually, when I was growing up, when I was their age, if I had phones, I probably would be tweeting very terrible stuff also. But thank God I didn't have phones. We didn't have smartphones. So, not as though we're smart, but there were no smartphones to really let people know how dumb we were back in the day. So, I'm sorry to say, the dumbness that certain Gen Z people exhibit today is not peculiar to Gen Z. Some boomers were dumb. Some Gen Xers were also dumb. Some millennials very dumb. The world does not know about their dumbness, but we went to school with them, so we know that there was a guy in my class. He was very dumb. It was in rubbish like this, and you will know that they were very dumb because now, 10, 20 years after, you talk to them, they are still dumb. All right. So it's not as if stupidity is not peculiar to a generation. In every generation, there is this stupid collective. You just have to decide that I won't be part of the stupid people in my generation. And you don't wear stupidity as a badge of honor. Now, the example you gave, you stood up. You stood up from a chair. I think that was the narration. You stood up from a chair. Your mentor sat on the chair, and then you came back, and your mentor said that, should I stand? You said you should stand up. Hi. How do you want to make it in life? I don't know how you will make it in life. With that kind of attitude, I do not know how you will make it in life. And the thing is this. See, even if your mentor is even if the generation ahead of you think they are very stupid, they are the ones that will hand over the key to the next generation. Let me tell you, if you are Gen Z now, you are in your 20s, early 20s or mid 20s, the people that will hand over to you, they are in my generation and the generation ahead of me, and those guys are very traditional. They are the gatekeepers.
Yes.
That is the same way you will be gatekeepers for the Gen Alphas. So I don't care what you know. Are there people in, 22, 25 in managerial positions in organizations? No. The people that are mostly in managerial positions in organizations, they are millennials and even people who are millennials. And there is a way those guys were raised, or we were raised. Even if your mentor did not, you are sitting on a chair, your mentor comes in, and then the way we were raised, you should stand up. And then, the thing is this. They won't, in fact, if you see an elder or a mentor that is dragging with you that you're not supposed to talk that way and all that person likes you. That's why it's correcting you. Many a time they will not correct you, they will do you. You know what it means for somebody to do you? They will do you. They will wait for you at the end of the road. So now, you have to understand the generational. Now with that, I get it. I get it. Like, okay, Gen Zs are not like us. We were raised with a culture of respect, all right, and we were raised properly in proper homes without without so much of outside influences neutralizing our home training. So I get what the Gen Zs are going through, because now Daddy Amanda says that this is the way, but an influencer with 2 million followers says this is the way, and then you see that this guy has 2 million followers, and then there are 500,000 people in 5 minutes saying that he is right. This guy must be right. My daddy is wrong, and your daddy is not on social media, and your daddy doesn't seem to have the data. Your daddy does not seem to have whatever, the social leverage, the social capital. That somebody has social capital does not make them right. Always remember that. That everybody is saying that, oh, you are wise, does not mean you are wise. You can be very foolish. But because people don't examine what they are, the wisdom they are ingesting, they think everybody is wise. I have been lamenting of late that Nigerians, people don't have sense. I'm not saying it because I'm the one that has more sense, but you can just see certain things that they are wrong. You just need to read books and think. And everybody will be damning. And they can damn themselves to wherever they want to damn themselves to. But the point is this: if as a millennial, most of my mentors, they are in the generation before me. There is a way I relate to them. There's a way you talk to them. See, simple things, simple gestures like saying sir and ma can differentiate between. They will tell you they incorporate what you don't say sir and ma. It's not really true. Maybe when you're at work, you don't say it. When you are doing maybe corporate communications, you don't say it. But there are times you have to interact with people informally. All right? Most of the interactions you're going to have with your mentor is informally. I mean, just imagine you're coming to me and say, hello, Barrister Hayo, how are you? Or hello, Hayo, can I get a time with you? I won't answer you. Like, I will not answer. For instance, Mr. Leke, I would just ignore. One of my younger ones, in the family, extended family, I haven't seen him in years. His father's children, he has 3 older sisters. He's the 4th born. The firstborn, if he sees me, she will down to greet me. All right, that's how we were raised. Okay, but he didn't really know me very well like that. So one day I just saw a message on Facebook. He said, "Hello, bro. How are you? I've not opened that message till tomorrow. Am I your bro? I'm not your bro. You don't talk to me like that. You are family. I'm your uncle." So, see, it's just a reflex response because I wouldn't talk to my uncle that way. So whatever he needs from me, I don't even want to hear because his opener was terrible. Who is your bro? You say, uncle, how are you, sir? Somebody will say, you are just being primitive. You are insecure. That's not insecurity. If you think it's insecurity, you really don't have training. All right? Because you have to know that in life you give honor to whom honor is due. There are doors that honor will open, that money cannot open, and there are doors that dishonor will close and apology cannot open it. Once it's slammed shut, it is slammed shut. So you have to understand the fact that your mentor is above you. You have to treat him like he's above you. All right? Even if he's just 2 years older than you. There is a book I read when I was growing up. You stoop to conquer. There are times in life that you have to stoop in order for you to conquer. If you have to get something from somebody, you have to learn from them. Water doesn't flow uphill, it does downhill. Virtue doesn't flow uphill, it flows downhill naturally most of the time. So you have to create a learning curve. You have to create a situation of saying that you are the master and the apprentice. This thing is as old as humanity itself. Okay, if you say that I'm being African, have you seen Chinese movies? All right. When you see the sensei or the Japanese movie, the sifus, have you seen a place whereby someone that is learning martial art is going to meet the boss and saying that, how are you? All those things that they, before you know it, once you say that, they can even break your head, and then you will serve the master. Actually, when we talk, the real mentorship, let me tell you something. Real mentorship is actually apprenticeship. Apprenticeship. If you truly want to be mentored, you must be ready to be an apprentice. And what apprentices do? They serve.
Sorry, let me stop you there. Let me stop. because we are about to open another line of conversation. And
Okay.
I want some other people to still enjoy, and not only enjoy, because we're not just talking to have fun here, we're actually having conversations that will reshape you and reposition you. You know, there is no time that is too late for anybody to
Hmm.
wake up to responsibilities. Even if you are 60 years, the time that you are starting is a good time to start. The detriment is not to start at all, right?
Yeah.
And I would want each and every one of us that is still listening live to share this link and call your sister, your brother, or send it to them to, join us. I know that the challenges in Nigeria now, light and all the stuff, but this is actually worth your time. This is actually worth your time. So share it. And we'll quickly go on a break just to enlighten us and talk about how Nigeria is, how Wamido is in Nigeria is positioned to help professionals strategically located in Nigeria to scale to the next level or in their professional career and niches. So while we're waiting for that prompt at the back end, I would want to ask you one very circle back. Let's circle back to the point that we're talking about, and that is, knowing oneself. Okay, we're ready.
God's gift is a
Right?
young, agile Nigerian. Most mornings, she's already awake before 6 a.m. There's always something she's trying to sort out. Even on quiet days, her mind is working. God's Gift is a brilliant university graduate. She jumps from one YouTube channel to another, and her LinkedIn profile is a graveyard of unpaid certifications. She has the fire, but she's currently using it to cook Indomie at 2 a.m. because she feels confused, not because she doesn't want to try. She's just tired of guessing. She still wakes up early, helps her mom, checks her phone, job posts, courses, threads, advice everywhere. Everybody is saying something. Learn tech. No, tech is full. Go into AI. But how? Just start, you'll figure it out. Figure it out how? God's gift actually tried. Late nights, data, design, certificates plenty. Direction? Not so much. Anytime she asks questions, the answers are always the same. Just be consistent. Keep applying. God's gift doesn't need motivation, she needs sense. She's not asking for shortcuts. She needs someone to say, this is how this industry truly works. These are the standards. This is what you should focus on now. But the people who know are far, or she doesn't know how to reach them. In Nigeria, God's gift isn't alone. Data shows that while 53% of our youth are underemployed, companies are screaming that they can't find employable talent. It's a paradox. God's gift is shouting into a void, and the industry is looking for a signal she doesn't know how to send. Now imagine something different. God's gift finds a space where questions are rightly answered, where preparation comes before opportunity, where effort is seen. At Wamido, we don't just give advice, we hand her a map. We put her through 6 weeks of mandatory training to ensure she is ready for the industry truth. We filter the noise so she can become the signal.
God's gift is ready to stop guessing. And maybe God's gift is you. Do you have the fire? Do you have the hunger? Now it's time for the roadmap. Are you a God gift? Join Wamido today and let's turn your questions into next steps.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. We are looking forward to having everybody that is genuinely interested in stepping out of the noise, stepping out of the confusion, to take the bull by the horn and really to start something beautiful in their life, especially in this world where AI is reshaping every sector, right? Every professional sector, every sector in itself. I was having a discussion with one very influential man of God, and I was jokingly telling him that maybe one day we're going to bring him up to Wamido and ask him how AI is reshaping marriages. But he took it very serious and like you don't want to know. You don't want to know. So literally every sector, and we'll be looking forward to having you. So Pastor Ayo, I
Yes.
appreciate all this very valuable information that you have given to us and lights and that you have thrown at us to begin to rethink, to begin to unlearn, and also to learn that who we are is very paramount in whatever choices we become. And also the outside influences, the external influences that is contending with we that we have actually identified ourselves, that we have this identity. The forces are contending, trying to influence, trying to reshape us, and how basically we can step into a journey of knowledge to be consistent with who we are, even as we evolve into different stages and phases of our lives. And so I would want us to circle back to our self identity discussion. And I have it written down here, that there is a version of self knowledge that is intellectual, right? You read the books, you know the theory, and there is a version that is actually lived. The moment something cracked open and you actually saw yourself clearly. Now, have you had that moment? And what did it cost you before you got there?
Oh, well. Hmm. Thank you for that question. The journey of self-discovery is a journey that you take. You never end. It's a journey from cradle to grave.
Mhm.
You know, there was a president of this country that he was president in the 70s, then became president after return to civil rule. Was president for 8 years. It was after that he decided to go to Bible school to become a theologian. He discovered again that, okay, after he had fought in wars, he had gone for peacekeeping missions, gotten to the pinnacle of his professional calling. Then he discovered another calling. So actually, self-discovery, it never ends. It just keeps getting better and better. And then, like you said, there is that aspect. There are two paths or two pathways to discovering yourself. There is the knowledge pathway and there is the practice pathway. You know, discovering yourself sometimes is like entering your house when it is dark. You enter a room when it is dark. It's dark, but you are trying to feel your way. There is a part of reading your way. You are reading, you are studying, you are interacting with knowledge, and there is the part of feeling your way, doing your way into discovering yourself. You will do your way. You won't just read your way, because when you read certain ideas on paper, those ideas will sound very interesting, but by the time you decide to execute the ideas, let me give you a good example. When I left the university, because I love to impart knowledge, I love to teach. If you woke me up about 16, 15, 14 years ago, what career path would I love to follow? Even though I'm a lawyer, I would tell you that I wanted to go into the academics. I wanted to get into a faculty of law and begin to teach law. I thought I was destined to be a law teacher, a fantastic one at that. And the truth is, if I had gotten a position to teach law, I would have done an excellent job. However, so I was writing applications, trying to get to universities, and then they were, it wasn't clicking. But then, while I was going around, I took up a part time lecturing with an institute, like a polytechnic, and I was lecturing for them. We started. I was recruited, and then I started lecturing, and I enjoyed lecturing. Like, I would go for classes. I would go without my notes. I would reel out everything off the cuff, and I was enjoying the adrenaline rush. I would teach them. I would look at the satisfaction on the faces of my students. In fact, they would be hailing me. They were very happy because they were adults.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed that. So I thought that, My destiny is in this lecturing. Then it was time for me to actually, then they did the exam. And after I supervised the exam. I love the fact that I was supervising, I was an invigilator in the exam. After the exam, then they submitted their scripts, and I had to start marking the script. When I started, that was when I knew that my destiny was not in lecturing, at least not in that kind of lecturing at the university. What? I realized what my lecturers went through. So when they said that some people fail, they said they deserve to fail because there was some script I saw. I could not read. I could not read. How would you write this? And when you have failed one student, you fail 10 students in a row. You start feeling guilty. Like, I can't be failing everybody, but you can't pass them if they have not passed. I thought it was a joke when one of my lecturers at the university said that some of you in your exam script you're going to write, "Sir, I don't know the answer. Please have mercy on me." Some people will write African Queen Two-Face. Like we thought our lecturers were joking, that it was an expensive joke. When I was marking script, I saw things. Since that time, I left that vision. I've not gone back to it. I haven't gone back to it. The moment, I mean, I struggled. It was maybe like 100 and maybe 50 scripts. And I went to schools whereby in a class, sometimes you're like 300, 400, 500. I was like, how are our teachers, how are they coping? So while I was watching, I was reading book, I actually thought that I wanted to do lecturing. That year, after that experience with that polytechnic, that was my last attempt at lecturing. I thought I was going to read I felt myself into lecturing and I came back. It was like touching fire and removing your hand. I haven't gone back. I still love impacting knowledge, but I'm not going to do it. I don't think I want to do it again within the marking scripts. No, I don't want to do that. And of course, the other, bureaucracies that come with lecturing, I felt that at some point, and I felt like this is not what I'm looking for in life. And I withdrew. So there is a path of discovering yourself and defining yourself that knowledge will do for you, and there is a path that exposure will do for you. Exposure, it's important. There was when we were in university, there was, in faculty of law faculties, there were, you have chambers and all that. There was a particular chamber that we had, and then the chamber was built on practice. The core values of the chamber was practice and exposure. In other words, even as undergraduates, they were letting you know these are the things that obtain some practice and they expose you. Let me tell you, most of the people that were active in that chamber, when they left the university, they were not trying to define themselves. They had already defined themselves as undergraduates because they went to meet judges, they went to courtrooms, they went everywhere. They went to corporate world like excursions. So they had the exposure before they graduated. So when they graduated, they were not trying to find themselves. They just went into where they wanted to go to. Whereas some other people...
Let me quickly come in there. Do you think that this ties to mentorship? Do you think that this ties to mentorship?
That this what?
Do you think that this trail of thought you're just discussing, do you think it ties to mentorship?
Definitely it does.
Yeah.
Definitely it does. Because, for instance, the example I just gave about, what's it called, a chamber in a faculty there. The whole essence of the chamber was that they had seniors. They had people that are graduated that were already working that will come to the chamber and say that, okay, where do we go this semester? And then they go to see a judge, they go to see an SAN, they go to a corporate office somewhere. So it was a kind of mentorship, but it was in group. It was a kind of mentorship, mentoring people in group. And then because they had that exposure, you see, you have to expose yourself to different things to be able to choose which one you truly love. So they had that opportunity, whereas some of us were just academic. We're just reading book. That's why we say that success in life is not just about what you know, it's about what you are exposed to. All right? That was academic knowledge. What they were getting exposed to was applied knowledge. So some of those guys, they haven't gone to court for once. They just chose that they were not going to have anything to do with litigation. They went into transaction practice. Whereas someone else spent 5 years in litigation before he discovered that litigation is not his calling. Let me now go and start in transaction or in corporate world. By the time you get to the corporate world, it is his junior that is dragging position with.
Yes.
So he's already 5 years behind because he didn't define himself very early. If he had a mentor, or he had a group of people that had been mentored by some other group of people that had gone ahead, he wouldn't waste time that much. Again, let
Thank
me
you
give you
very
another
much,
example.
sir.
Can I give
Okay.
another example
Yes,
quickly?
yes, 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 yes,
There's this writer called Robert Greene. Robert Greene, is the one that wrote the very famous 14 Laws of Power. He
yes.
wrote a couple of other books also. If you reading that book, you will know that the man he had deep knowledge of life,
Mm.
deep knowledge of life. He will give you. I mean, reading all his books, he will give you examples in these, examples in that, and then I was listening to an interview by him one year like that, and he said that he worked about 50 something jobs before he decided and discovered that he was meant to be a writer. He had always had it in him. He was working in he was flipping burgers. He worked as an editorial somewhere, as a PA somewhere, as a teacher somewhere. He worked about 50 something jobs, and the day he discovered that I'm actually meant to be a writer, he wrote a book, 14 Laws of Power. That was the first book that he wrote, and that was his biggest bestseller.
Yes. Yep.
There are not so many books that are sold as that book and won many awards, and it's still relevant for people in the power business, etc. till tomorrow. So he had to feel his way. You don't have to take. I mean, people listening to me don't have to take 50 jobs. And then one of the ways by which we don't need to take 50 jobs before you find it, because if you are going to do 50 jobs, before you find your real life work, it just might be old. You might be too old. After finding your real life work, you don't have the energy to do it again. Mentorship will bridge that gap. Because the mistake you were about to make for the next 10 years, somebody made it for 20 years. So it will tell you, don't make the same mistake, and it will give you a 20-year break. It's important that we understand that. One more example, let me tell you another thing.
Yes, please.
You know,
Yes.
I saw I know we are pressed for time, but then let me just be dropping. You could research further. The one of the founders of Access Bank, Heidi Mokwede, you could look for maybe the video on YouTube. He was talking. He gave a keynote address in a place. He talked about when they were going to start, and Jimovia heard that they were starting a bank. The founder of Zenith Bank heard that they were starting a bank. Jimovia called him, and they had a discussion for a day, like a 10-hour discussion or so. And then he said that Jimovia gave him, was it the blueprint or something, in those 10 in that within that period of that discussion that they had. So everything that they are doing today or that they did in Access Bank was one of the reasons. One of the secret was that a man called Jim Hovia was willing and ready to hold and hike Imokwede by the hand and expose him to certain things in 10 hours. If he had gone to start learning those things by his own trial by error, he could spend 10 years there, and he wouldn't even have anything to show for it. So mentorship is important. It will save you time, energy, and stress. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We all, I mean, you and I, because I have a privilege of at least knowing some wonderful stories and some of the experiences, we can categorically say that our mentorship is more than just knowing people in high places that have gone ahead of us. Strapping that, oh, I am attuned to this person. People that are also in close proximity with such people, they are not necessarily, they are not necessarily having that advantage, of being close to. I think what I'm trying to say is that it's a matter of your perspective and how you want to shape, all this relationship to indeed be intentional about how and what you want to get out of your mentor and mentee relationship. And these are the foundation of our next, our next week conversations, which is going to be exclusive. Because next week we're going to be diving deep right into, the nitty gritty of mentorship and also citing some wonderful instances, more practical examples about that. But we wouldn't conclude or we wouldn't do justice to today's discussion without talking about a young Nigerian, in their early 20s who has never been invited to think about themselves in this way that we have discussed tonight, who has been told to focus on just skills, certification, also, where does this kind of inner work ever begin? Where does it begin for them? And also, we'll take one more question on our YouTube channel, and then we'll see how it goes. If we can have one more time to take just one or two more questions, we will do that. Over to you, sir.
I didn't get that. Was it a question?
Yes, so the question from me, before I take one more question from the YouTube channel, is that for a young Nigerian, right, in their early 20s, who has never been invited to think about themselves this way that we have discussed tonight, who has been told to focus on just skills, certifications, also do it right and all the, where does this kind of inner work, where does it begin for them?
Okay. Well, I believe that because, yeah, it's good to take certifications and focus on that. Focus on certifications, expertise.
Yeah.
But you discover that expertise, you can't get to expertise by theory alone. Real expertise would happen when you have the opportunity to practice what you have been learning theoretically. The point at which you will need a mentor is the point when you know you need to get results. You can gathering qualifications and certifications, but the time would come whereby you need to translate your certifications and qualifications into tangible results. At that point, you will need a mentor.
So
And
my
then,
question, sorry. So my question is the inner work of self-discovery, of identity in itself.
okay,
Where does
okay.
it begin? Yeah, where does it begin for someone that has not been invited to even think about themselves in this way before?
Is
They
it
have
where or
false
when?
identity and all that. Yeah.
Is it
Go
where
ahead.
does it begin or when
Yeah,
does it begin?
where does the journey begin for them? How do I start to self-identify? Where do I even start? Who am I in the first place? What are the right questions to ask about myself currently? And how do I start, shaping myself into getting the opportunity to get the best of the framework, the best of the advantages towards the kind of person that I am?
Well, I think where to start from is to do an analysis of yourself. One should do an analysis of himself. Then look at, I believe everybody should have a goal and a dream and a vision. All right? Then look at what you want to achieve. Look at where you are. Then take an inventory. When I said analysis of yourself, I would like to put it in do a SWOT analysis of yourself. There are places you want to go to, there are things you want to you want to achieve. And then when you do a SWOT analysis, you see the distance between where you want to be and where you are presently. At that point in time, you know you need help. You need a certain influence to close that gap between where you are and where you want to be. And then when you look at it, you now ask yourself, there are certain things that everybody has their limitations. Everybody has their limitations. And that's the whole essence of saying that people should do SWOT analysis. Analyze yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities and your traits? And then your opportunities, okay, those are good things. Your strengths, those are good things. But what are your traits? What are your limitations? So when you begin to look at, for instance, I know somebody that, for somebody that probably is not a good speaker, but wants to be a speaker, then you identify a good speaker and you follow him. Sometimes your desires, in fact, most of the time, your desires, your aspirations will not line up with your reality. You want to be this, or you want to be that, but you are this. Let's even break it down. You want to make money. You want to be a billionaire, but you are not. The person even struggles presently to be a thousandaire. So what do? You look for a millionaire or a billionaire to follow. How you will find that, I don't know. But then that's just an example. So you want to be a good lawyer. You really want to be a senior advocate of Nigeria. You want to be a son. You want to be able to do litigation very well. But you see yourself, your advocacy skills are not top notch. Then you identify somebody with very top notch advocacy skill, and you find your way to follow that person. And then that's that. I said that to throw a little bit of light on where do you start. You first examine yourself. You examine yourself and you identify that in these certain areas I need help. That's where to start. In what areas do you need help? If someone says to me now that, oh, I don't think I need help in any area, I don't think you are a very serious person. Even me, as I'm talking, there are areas in which I still need help. That's why I still have certain mentors, because I say, please help me now, help me so that I will not remain the same. you know. So I believe everybody needs help. So as you are, you need help professionally, emotionally, in certain areas, financially, all right? So in those areas where you need help, that's where you need mentor. You need somebody to hold you by the hand. And the question is, when do you start? Honestly, the best time to start was 10 years ago. The next best time to start is now. And then I think we're rounding off. I'm just going to chip this in because you mentioned something in passing about, you sometimes you don't have access, to your mentors. Their time, they have limited time, etc. But it's important, even if you there are mentors that maybe they have materials and you can consume. If your mentors have content, that's a beautiful thing. But let me say this, one of the best ways to be mentored is to be an apprentice. Just look for what your mentor is doing and volunteer. Because mentorship is guided mastery. You watch them do it, you can easily repeat it. If you don't see them when they are doing it, it's difficult to repeat it. I can okay.
Thank you so much, Rosario. I know if I let you loose, we will be here in the next 5, 6 hours, and we will not get bored. It's going to be very highly intellectual stuff. But as you have said this, I just think thought back to when I was at Harvard, and I just saw the gap. And most importantly, in one of the Saturdays, we'll be picking on the topic on how do you ask for help from mentors, because there's a way to ask from mentors too that you will not chase them away. So, because you're coming with a high level of prayer, like you want to be this, you want to be that, you have so much questions. And these are very, 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 very busy people. They also have a lot of prayer, managing so many infrastructural work, their own professional life too. There's a lot of prayer being a leader, because mentors are also leaders in their own sphere. And and you are coming with this energy of, oh, I need this, I need that. How do you manage it? Now, we're going to be talking about that too in one of these Saturdays. But most importantly, we know that mentorship is has been an overused word. He's my mentor. She's my mentor. We have overused, we have battered, shattered that word. And this is us redefining what mentorship is in itself and its purpose, to ensure that we give the space for anybody that is genuinely and willing to take advantage of this opportunity. So we'll take one last question, and that is for someone. I'm reading this from one of from the YouTube live chat. So for someone who has so many interests in many fields and learning different skills at once, he said, finding it difficult to focus on one, even though knowing that I can't do it all at once. So I'm guessing the person is, how do I identify or sieve my interests? And to maybe to buttress this question, you talked about somebody trying out 50 things. If you try out 15 things, you're already worn out. You are literally worn out. And yes, you've talked about mentorship, right? But in the process of identifying yourself, you should be at least to a certain level of have this assurance that this is what I want to do. So I'm guessing the question is, how do I get to that level of assurance? How do I get from that point of I don't even know. I have so many things. I have so many talents, And most importantly, in this our age where there's diversification of skills so fast, right? Because whatever they are making money, that is where, and it's true. We all are, especially our career paths. 90% of people are into the careers they want because they want to exchange it for money, right? So that has been so much motivation to people that are upcoming now. Plus the prayer of life in itself, the global prayer, the global prayer of systems, you know, talk about fuel, talk about living conditions, right? Things are getting much more challenging. So you have to, upgrade your income level. And so people are trying so many things. So how do I
Mm.
balance the skill of still staying true to who I am, my identity, and growing in that space, and not being tempted to diversify again and say, they said this one is making money, let me go and check it out. Over to you, sir.
All right. Yeah, I think I can relate to that question because I could say that at some point in my life, I was sort of enterprise greedy. Like, I don't know if I could call it greed or overconfidence. I just believe I could do everything. Sha. Anything I wanted to do, I could do. So, and I've had different dreams and aspirations. It would interest you to know that I actually thought I could become a Grammy Award winner, musician, even I wanted to do everything. Now,
Everything.
when you want to do everything, at the end of the day, you end up doing nothing.
Mm,
You end up very confused. You will confuse your own soul because you are not known for one thing.
mm,
All right. Now, you could have so many interests, but you have to define the interests that are important, that are urgent, and the ones that are pivotal to your destiny.
mhm.
All right. In fact, if it's interest, it's even manageable. It gets more complex when you are multi-talented because talent is not everything. You will discover that discipline is more important than talent. People that were called geniuses, that were good at many things, research has shown that a lot of geniuses, they actually die very poor and broke because they don't focus on one thing. He can sing, he can dance, he can cry, he can lecture, he can do everything. So he lectures for 2 months, he sings for 3 months, he dances for 5 months, and all that. He's not known for anything. So he doesn't develop expertise and positive notoriety in one thing. I saw a profile recently. Somebody is a lawyer, is a pharmacist, another, okay, he's a lawyer and a pharmacist, or he's a lawyer and a doctor. He didn't become a senior advocate of Nigeria nor a judge. He didn't get to the pinnacle of any of those professions because his attention is divided in too many directions.
Mm.
So you have to sit down, that kind of individual, and ask yourself, which one is the most important? You have 10 talents or interests. Which one is most important now? Which one, if you were to, let's assume that you are, 90 years old today and you are ready to die. Ask yourself, which of these things will it be that if I didn't do it, I will feel like I wasted my life? Let's assume that you could sing, you could dance, you could lecture. But if you leave this world without singing, without getting on stage and saying, yo, 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 how are you? You're going to feel like a failure. That is the one that is most important you should pursue. If you now have extra time that you are not using, go and do other things.
But should
And then,
money should money influence, your scale of preference? Because we want to be
yes,
real. We want to be real here. Should money? Because if you are saying that, money is very important, sir, and I know you know. Should
yes, of
money?
course I do.
Yes. So should money influence, the scale of preference that we're curating to say, oh, this is very important. But this one is important, but it's not giving me money. How do we manage that scale of preference?
Okay, so when it comes to money, because that's another factor, we have thrown another item in the mix. When it comes to money, I would say this, that to be on a safe side, I would say everybody should define what they want. But I don't think people want poverty. Nobody wants to be broke because we have bills to pay and we have responsibilities.
Yes.
So if you have interests, one can become money easily. One will not generate money because you need to survive to fulfill your passion.
Yes.
First, go and do the one that can give you money. But let me say this, the caveat is this: even the one you are pursuing for money, let it be that you are interested in it.
Mm,
You know, because I've been around, I have myself as an example, and I've seen the examples of other people. You make money easier or easily from a craft that you are interested in.
mm,
If you truly love to be a panel beater, you will make money panel beating than someone that is more money panel beating than someone that is a lawyer and doesn't like being a lawyer, because your emotions will filter into and affect the quality of your work. and then you see every customer as a stress trigger if you don't like what you are doing.
Mm.
And
So
when they
this is
notice
a
a,
yes. I know we are really pressed out of time, but this is a yes or no question that I
okay,
want you to
okay,
yes or no answer. And that is, now we've talked about money and you've given that answer to it. But do you think that as you move on in your profession, do you think that the more money you make influences your like? Is it a yes or no? Do you get my question? Like, if you start making more
okay.
money as a lawyer, and maybe you don't really like being a lawyer, but man, you're seeing money there. Do you think it influences your love for the profession? Yes or no?
Honestly, I will tell you, the money you make from something you don't love does not cure your lovelessness for that thing.
Mm,
At the end of the day, if you make money from something you don't love, most of the time, many a time, people will now use the money to pursue what they love, and
mm,
that is what is normal. So what you don't like, you don't like. If you don't like being a football, I mean, being a whatever it is, being an accountant, it gets to a time that you abandon accounting and you go and become a chef if that's what you truly love. Money will never satisfy your soul the way what you love will satisfy it and give you a sense of fulfillment.
we have had a wonderful time with you tonight, and we want to thank you so much. I
Thank you.
believe that next week we'll have more time to be able to we'll have less technical challenges, and we'll have more time to delve into more questions.
Definitely.
And trust me, so next week is going to be deeper and deeper and deeper. We're going deeper into the trenches now. Those questions that has been wearying our soul, and we want to say it the way it is. And I believe that we are going to give it our best, and we are looking forward to having you. Just a quick recap of next week. We're going to be talking about the anatomy and neural pathways and the relational layer. We're going to be talking about the idea of how many young people believe that they need a career mentor, and what they actually need first is to understand relational patterns that they are operating from, and how personal relationships, family dynamics, attachment history, psychological wiring all bleed into professional behavior in ways that are rarely named. So it's going to be an insightful discussion, and we will get to know who we are as we journey through who we are becoming on this series. I remain Ayomide Arolo, the founder of our medium. And on behalf of Hire and my team, we want to say thank you to everyone that has stayed up till this time, because I know it's getting late in Nigeria, to watch with us and educate ourselves, to learn, unlearn, and be learned, because that is my passion, to make everyone see life as it is currently and also evolve through that process. Thank you once again to our wonderful guest. We will see you next week with lots of excitement and questions again as we dive deeper and shape our professional careers. Thank you all, and see
Thank
you
you very much.
next week, same time, same channel, and bring your questions. Bye for now.
Bye.